Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In today's video, I'm going to continue on with our Napoleonic project update. And in today's update, I'm basically going to showcase the 2nd Light Regiment for the French. I was able to complete all 4 battalions, and these are Old Glory miniatures. It's the 4 battalions basically came out of 2 packs. I do believe it was FFL 2 and FFL 4, various uniforms. The command elements are all from their command pack, the Great Coat command pack. All right, so you're going to notice this throughout all 4 regiments. Or all 4 battalions, I'm sorry. This is the 1st battalion. It's carrying the regimental flag and has the eagle. All my battalions are going to have a Voltigeur and a Grenadier company in them. The Voltigeurs I used with the Kolpak style fur cap. And the Grenadiers all have the bearskin cap. The 3 companies in the back are the light blue company, the orange company here, and the violet company. I didn't use the green company because I never do on any battalions because I don't want them to be confused or misrepresented as the Voltigeurs. I want the Voltigeurs and the other companies to stand out, so I never use the green company, except for maybe part of the command element or something like that. All right, let me get out the 2nd battalion. All right, now this is the 2nd battalion. The 2nd battalion will have the white fanion. You'll notice that is a GMB flag. The regimental flag was also GMB, and I pretty much did them the same way. In the command elements, you'll notice this does not have the eagle, right? So I was able to snip the eagle off, and then I used my pliers to crimp the tip and cut it to a point so it looks like it's got a spear tip. Also, the command elements, you'll notice that each of the command elements that I've used have one eagle guard or standard guard beside the battalion standard. Again, 1 Grenadier, 1 Voltigeur, and then 3. That gets me 6 stands. All right, let me go ahead and get the 3rd battalion. All right, we're into the 3rd battalion. Again, same thing. Snip, crimp, cut, paint. Grenadiers, Voltigeurs, 3 companies for a total of 6 bases. This Eagle Guard's got his pistol out. Something happened when I was finishing these up. I had finished painting them, and then I went out and sprayed them with a dull coat. But when I brought them in, I noticed that they had kind of this white fog on them because there must have been humidity outside. But you can almost see it as on their muskets, how it's kind of still white. But what I did was before I put the grass on the base, I did a little bit of a highlighting episode. I took some dark blue and kind of highlighted, and then I took some light blue and highlighted, which luckily covers up all of the mistakes that dull coat had caused. Same thing with the Shakos. I went with like this really dark gray as a little bit of water and dark gray, and touched up the cartridge cases and their Shakos and their boots and gaiters, as well as the bear skins and the coal packs as well. So basically I did a little touch up, did some, I hit all of the pom-poms as well, because some of them got really dusty. But then looking at it afterwards, after I did all these highlights, these figures actually look really good with the even after the wash, and then the dull coat went back in with a little bit of highlighting, and it really makes these figures stand out. I'm very happy with them, the way they turned out. Okay, let me show you the last battalion. I've got a little bit to say about it as well. All right, this is the 4th Battalion as of part of the 2nd Light Regiment. A couple of things I wanted to point out was, you'll notice the pose that these guys are in. They're in like a charging pose with their muskets down low. It took a little bit of adjusting and tweaking and trying to get just right, so that these stands will actually, you know, those muskets will act, and this is on all the battalions, will fit one behind the other, right? So you had to, you know, get the muskets to fit in between the front, first and second rank, right? Okay. So I had to deal with that, right? With all of them, and that's okay. But that's one reason why I don't like that pose. It interferes with gameplay as well, because like when you go to do a melee, you know, with this unit, their muskets might prevent a base-to-base kind of thing. So I'm kind of I have mixed feelings. They look good, and I appreciate that pose, but I prefer the pose where they've got the musket either up at a port arms, or they have it straight up like they've got shoulder arms, like they're marching. Another thing, this is the 4th Battalion, and the 4th Battalion has a blue flag. I noticed that GMB does not sell blue flags. The Fighting 15 does sell the Fanions as part of a set, but since I already have all the French flags from Quatre Bras and I don't need to buy a whole nother set, I opted not to. I opted to make my own blue flag, right? Because there's only one out of all the regiments that I'm doing. This is like the only battalion that's the 4th Battalion. I think they're all 1, 2, or 3. So I could be wrong on that, but from what I can tell, for Quatre Bras, for second corps, maybe first corps might be a little different. But so what I did was I took one of these white flags, right? One of the 2nd Battalion flags, and then I applied some blue paint. But I didn't just apply blue paint to it. I took the blue and I thinned it down a lot, so it was more like an ink wash. I used some Liquitex matte fluid medium, right? So I used some Liquitex matte fluid medium, which I do quite a bit when I'm trying to make my own washes. And then I also put quite a bit of water in it as well. I thinned it down for about 50% water and 50% Liquitex, so it became very thin. And I brushed it over that white flag, and I noticed that it was too thick. It appeared to be too thick, so brushed most of it off, and then I realized that it was too thin. So I basically went in with a second coat and darkened it up to the color that I wanted, and it allowed, you can see, it allowed the lettering to shine through. So I think it turned out really well. That this was originally one of those white flags, and now it's a blue flag, and you would never, you're not really going to tell much difference, but you can see the light horn on it, and you can see where it says Legere, and it has like a number. I think it says 2nd Battalion, but it's the 2 in the battalion, 2 before the battalion, is so hard to read, and plus with the blue paint on it and the crinkles, you can never see that it's supposed to be 4th Battalion. So I'm really excited. You can see the highlighting on the blue, how that came out really well, and how the coloring of the pom-poms really makes a difference. I mean, after the shadow, I'm very happy with the 2nd Regiment French. All right, let me show you them all out together. Okay, and here we go. We got 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Battalion, and 4th Battalion. Right, and I put them all in an attack column formation, 2 bases wide. And that's the way attack columns are going to be in my game. It's going to be 2 bases wide, and then the rest deep, march column is going to be with 1 base wide, so that's going to be my march column. This is going to be what I call an attack column. And then two bases deep. That's going to be a line. And then, of course, we're going to take 2 stands facing forward, 2 stands facing backwards, and then 1 stand on each side, making a square. Now, what I thought about doing was, imagine, I'm still kind of working on this, 1 stand, and then put the corners of the stands together, and then a corner of a stand together there, and a corner of a stand together there should be your square, right? With the stands bigger, basically making an opening, and not being flush in the corners, right? And then your additional stands, like your command stand and whatever else, would just go inside this concoction, right? So it doesn't really matter. You could just have 3 stands together, and then just put 1 stand, but I don't know. If I back this up and then center it, would that be okay? I'm not sure. That seems like a better way to do it, because it'll tighten everything up. Or I could do the extended opening like that, with only 4 stands, like in a small battalion. 4 stands, that's all you have. So I was thinking maybe doing a square where it overlaps there and there, and there, if that makes sense. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Basically on a small battalion, but it only works with a small battalion. So if it only works with a small battalion, do I want to make that a rule? I don't think I do. It definitely looks good like that. It really does. But I think I want to do corner to corner. And the main reason why I think I want to do corner to corner on a square is because that will leave enough room for your 2 extra bases to go inside. So, I mean, most people would put their standard on the inside, because that would be how it would traditionally be a square. And then you could have these guys facing in various directions. But mainly, it doesn't really matter about the inside. Okay, so that would be your standard size unit. And then if it was a large battalion, and then you would have 2 additional bases, but it would be 8 bases. So I was thinking having 2 bases per side, right? But that'll leave like this giant hole in the middle, right? Because then you'd have this, on a large battalion, you'd have this square looking like that, which I don't like. I think that makes the sides stick out too much. So we could slide this one in, but that kind of doesn't look like a square at all. So my idea is to go 2 to the front, 2, okay, maybe I'm overthinking this. Okay, 3 to the front, 3 to the back, and that only leaves 2 additional bases. So 1 on each side. That doesn't look like a square, right? So maybe I will do 2, 2, and 2. Yeah, maybe that's the way the large battalion squares are going to have to be. All right, well, I'm still working on that. And I'm also still working on the combat system and the orders and everything else. Come back Monday where I'll tell you where I'm at so far with the rules. And maybe we'll start working on some melee. I'm still working on shooting, morale, and formations, and movement and orders and command. I'm trying to avoid melee, but I might need to start working on melee a little bit just to kind of, because it'll help organize formations and stuff like that, like squares and etc. and stuff like that. So all right, so the next figures that I'm going to be working on for my project, I think I'm actually going to venture into doing a few command stands, mainly because I want to be able to field 2 French brigades and 2 Allied brigades and play test it. So instead of just 1 brigade on 1 brigade, I can now do 2 brigades and 2 brigades with completion of this regiment. Even though this regiment is not the complete brigade, there's actually the 61st line, and it only has a couple of battalions in it for a total of 6 battalions to make this brigade. But just for play test purposes, we can go with 4 battalions in a brigade just to see how it works. So I'll do some command stands, probably not by this Monday, but sometime this week, next week, because I have got some commissions that I need to do. So there might be a pause in figure painting, but I'll still be working on the rules. All right, guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this update, and I will keep you informed on my progress, and I'll catch you in the next one.